In this movie, we are going to use Geogebra, and I would like you to go to geogebra.org, and you'll see the screen. We're going to create our own Geogebra. We go to Geometry, and you'll see this toolbar at the top. If you happen to see an X and Y axis, you can go to this image over here and click on this, and it will get rid of and replace your X and Y axis, but we don't need it, so we'll get rid of it. And what we're going to do are two things. The first thing we're going to do is create congruent line segments. So I'm going to put a text for congruent line segments. It's going to be my title. The first thing I need to do is start off with a segment. So I create a segment. Doesn't matter how long it is. Then underneath it, I'm going to create something, construct something that is congruent to AB. So I start off with a ray. Now I know that point D is not in the proper location. I need it to be the distance from A to B. And in this construction, it's all based on the premise that congruent circles have congruent radius. So if I have two congruent circles, both of the radius will be the same length. So I'm going to use the compass feature in this circle, down to compass, and I'm going to go from point B to point A. So I click B to A, and the second point that I click is the center of the circle. Now this circle does move around, but I'm going to leave it at point A. So I'm going to do a third click right at point A, and it stays there. So notice AB is now a radius to this circle. And what I need to do is stay in this compass mode, and I'm going to go from B to A again and create a second circle. Now this second circle is congruent to the first one. So as I move it, if I put it down here at C, I know that it has the same radius length as AB. So I know that this point right here is what I desire. So I'm going to go up to the point feature, and it will highlight both the circle and the line, and I'll put a point. That point E is what I need. That's telling me that AB is congruent to CE because I have two circles that are congruent, and the radius of two congruent circles will be congruent. So that's the first construction we have. The second one is congruent angles. So let me put congruent angles. And of course you need to start off with an angle. So I'm going to create an angle here. So I go to the angle feature and I do 3 taps. And you'll notice it'll give me the angle sometimes on the outside, sometimes on the inside. To delete that, I go to this symbol, all the way down at the bottom at delete, and I'll tap just on the green part. And that gets rid of the angle measure that I don't need. But I do need to connect the side rays, so I go to ray, and I click on G, and then I click on F, then I click on G to H, and I've created my first angle. And what I need is to construct an angle congruent to the first one. So I go to my ray feature and I mimic the GH ray here. I mimic it down here. Now I know J is not in the same location that H is from G. That's okay. What we're going to do next is go to the compass feature, go to our given angle, and I'm going to go from F to G. And see, I have a circle centered at G, and I'm going to leave it there. Now, I've got this length right here. I need to mimic that length on the other ray. So I'm going to put a point right here where it meets the other ray and call it K. So I'm going to go back to the compass feature because I need this circle FG to be a congruent circle where GF is the length of its radius. And I'm going to bring it down here to this new vertex I. Now you'll see that when I do that, I've created a point down here where the circle meets the ray, and that I'm going to call point L. The next feature I need is I need to know how far out on this arc to go. So I need to know this length KF. And again, when you say length, you should be thinking radius of a circle. So I go to my compass feature and I go from K to F. And notice, FK is the radius of this circle. I'm going to leave that one there, and I'm going to go back and do KF again to create a circle that moves and is congruent to the first one. I'm going to put this circle down here centered at L, because when I do, I've created a point where the two arcs intersect here. And now I can go from my vertex I through M, and I've constructed a congruent angle. I could go back through here and go K, G, F to get that angle measure, and then go L, I, M to get that angle measure, and it should be exactly the same because I constructed congruent angles. And that's all for this movie.